Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. As you can tell, the bookshelves are kind of coming together. I'm getting them sort of organized, sort of semi-organized, piece by piece. I'm trying to get rid of things because we didn't have enough time to try to, get everything mapped out on what we were going to give to like Goodwill and Rescue Mission and stuff. But at the same time, I'm trying to work through it now that it's in the house. I have everything together, getting stacks together of books that I plan on reading this coming year, or by the end of this year too, before I try to push those out the door and get rid of them as well. So a lot of things are kind of spread all over the place right now, but hopefully this organization is a cool background that you'll enjoy for future videos, God willing. Anyway, today I'm doing a review on the newest Goosebumps book that came out a couple of months back. I managed to pick up a copy in Tennessee, as I told many of you, at that Books A Million out there. I've been trying to catch up on the books that I've been missing out on, and of course, not too long ago, early this year, mid this year, Stein himself ended Slappy World, and we started a brand new series with the guy called Goosebumps House of Shivers. This is book number 1. Book number 2, I think, comes out in like February, March, sometime in there in 2024. But this number 1 book just came out, again, like a couple of months ago, like September or August, something like that. This is number 1, called Scariest Book Ever. Now, first and foremost, before I get to the contents of the book, this is the new format style for the title, for the cover itself, and I really like it. I love the purple, the blues, I like the kind of cartoonish nature of it. I like this monster from the actual book itself. Very creepy stuff, very creepy ideas. Stein really seems to have gotten on top of his game for this book, but I have one more compliment I want to give this cover first and foremost. Apparently Brandon Dorman didn't do this cover, as far as I can tell. It actually says the cover art is done by a fellow named Robert Ball, who I don't think I've ever heard of, as far as I know. Watch him do something like Harry Potter or something. Anyway, Robert Ball, fantastic first cover for this book, man. Looks great, seriously. Now, the book itself is about 150 pages long, and it zooms by. The pacing on this is fantastic. It's very much an adventure story, and one of the best aspects of Goosebumps that you could have in an adventure story. I really like the setup for it. I think the payoffs are great. The twists throughout the book are fantastic. I guess the place to really start at is that we are following a couple of twins, Billy and Betty, who are going to meet their uncle, who they haven't seen since basically they were babies. They pretty much have no exposure to this guy at all. They don't even know what he looks like, which we've seen that premise done in the past in Goosebumps 2. It starts out as a small rehashing of previous books in the past, but again, it's Goosebumps. There's like 400 of these things. Why would you not assume they'd rehash something somewhere along the line? Anyway, they go there, and they have heard from their parents, who are going on a business trip for 2 weeks to London without them, that this Wendell, Uncle Wendell, is a very strange man. He's a big book collector. He seems to have some kind of money, I guess, to some extent, and he seems like a very strange man to everybody, essentially, even in his own relationships with the parents of the 2 kids, Billy and Betty. And when they get there, their parents leave before they make sure that Uncle Wendell shows up at the front door to make sure he's actually home, which, number 1, in Parenting 101, bad idea. Always make sure you know who's picking up your kids at the house you drop them off at. Don't assume that they're just by themselves, there's no bad neighbors nearby, even though this Uncle Wendell's house has no neighbors. So, the kids get somebody at the front door. It happens to be who they assume to be Uncle Wendell, and also a young lady named Jessie, who they don't really remember hearing about. They don't know who this young lady is. Maybe she's like a maid, some kind of servant, something like that. They also brought their dog along, Bellamy, I think is his name, and they're told that they can't bring him inside because of all the precious things throughout the house, the items, the antiques, all of that, so they have to leave the dog outside to their dismay. But as soon as they basically get inside, Uncle Wendell sits them down. He's a very serious man, and you're not really sure at first what's the deal with that, but then we come to find out that there is a book in his collection that is considered the scariest book ever written, and if you read it, it basically drives you nuts. So nobody's ever really read it, which is kind of an issue with this book, but some people are going to hate that about it, some people are going to like it. I don't really care one way or another. I just wanted an entertaining story, and I got that. Basically, somebody apparently has stolen the book, or the book is missing, we're not really sure yet. But Uncle Wendell is pretty confident somebody stole the book from his house, and so he tells the kids, hey, once we get you settled in your room, I need to get you guys ready. Jesse's going to get ready. We're going to go out in the woods in this very dangerous forest behind my house and look for the book, and look for the person who possibly stole it. And then as they go out there to do that, many horrifying things happen. And when I say things like this monster right here, I forgot what it's called, but it's absolutely horrifying. It's basically a bat with a human head, and it screams, you know. That is such horrific imagery Such horrific, fantastic horror imagery that I absolutely love. It made this book come to life. There's some other creatures out in the woods, like tree bears, for example. If you haven't read the book, you probably find out what that is. They're probably not even called tree bears. I think they were something else they were called. I don't know. But a lot of the different creatures in this book, some of the giant bugs types of things in here were really cool. I really enjoyed all of that. There's some kind of monster Uncle Wendell is locked up in the shed of his backyard. That whole thing is pretty wild. And again, there's a lot of twists in here. If you love books like Stay Out of the Basement, for example, this has a lot of the same ideas and concepts as Stay Out of the Basement. It has a lot in relationship to that. But again, it has a lot of really cool stuff in here when it comes to the adventure aspect with the scary woods, which freaks me out. I love found footage movies, for example, because of the idea of having to utilize the woods and trying to not die in the woods. You never know what's out there. If you've never been in the woods at nighttime, if you don't have a flashlight, it's pitch black, dude. Your eyes don't really adjust that well. Not really. And that concept really stuck with me with this book. And again, the pacing on it was fantastic. For 150 pages, this flew by. It absolutely flew by. It took me a couple of weeks to read it, though. I had a lot going on in my life with the move and stuff, obviously. So I'd pick it up for a few pages, and then I'd put it down. But I wanted to keep getting back to it because of how basically just fun it was. It was a fun book to read, and I think it would be good for rereading as well. One of my biggest complaints, and one of the biggest complaints in the community in general, was that Goosebumps Slappy World, the previous series, did not have the best endings. About 9 times out of 10, you had a bad ending for every single book. No matter how enjoyable, fun, scary, funny the book might be, you might have a bad ending, almost always, with that series. This one gives me hope that we're already starting off a new series with better endings and whatever. This was really cool, and I enjoyed it. Another change up in here, too, that really threw me for a loop is that they changed out the spacing on the actual chapters. Like, here's chapter 1. They changed out the spacing. They also changed the chapter headers for, like, the first time in ages. Since, like, Series 2000, we basically had the same type of, font and chapter starters and everything, but they actually went back to something different with more spacing. I think it's like a 1.5 spacing. I don't know. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But I read the last, 40 pages last night, and it was just as good as it had been when I was reading it before the last couple of weeks. Really, really good read. I don't think I have anything else to tell you about Goosebumps House of Shivers #1, Scariest Book Ever. I wish we'd gotten to know more about the contents of the scariest book ever in this book, but we didn't, and it didn't really matter. It was more about the adventure of trying to find the book, trying to make sure that if it's stolen, who has it? And that stuff was really cool for the most part. I think a lot of my friends in the community really gave this a positive review, and for good reason. It's a good read, dude. Anyway, when it comes to the modern day disappointments of things like Slappy World and things like the modern Goosebumps 2023 remake reboot show I've been reviewing, when it comes to the modern disappointments we constantly get as a fan base, this is really solid. This really pulled through in a lot of cool ways, in my opinion. One of the best Goosebumps books we've gotten in years, alongside something like Slappy World's Slappy Beware hardcover. Anyway, if I had to rate Goosebumps, I keep trying to mess up, I keep wanting to call it Slappy World. If I had to rate Goosebumps House of Shivers #1, scariest book ever on a 5-star basis, I'd probably give this a 4 out of 5 stars, dude. That's a pretty high rating for this. It's a good book, man. Very enjoyable, very fun. That's why I guess I'm smiling for the first time in the last 10 videos, because I'm having a really good time, and I had a blast reading this. So anyway, have you read Scariest Book Ever? What do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comments section down below. Let me know about some critiques and stuff I can do with the stuff behind me, about organization stuff. It's really trying to find room for everything, and I'm having to get rid of so much that I already moved, which sucks. It absolutely sucks, dude. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. God bless you all, and goodbye.